So let's talk about web automation and more specifically data extraction from internal and external websites. In this demo, I want to show you how easy it is to build a robot with Kofax RPA that's able to query any sort of website out there. This is of course very relevant for back office automation when we talk about internal websites, and for external websites you can think about competitive analysis, open source intelligence, and anything else there as well. So without further ado, let's dive into the actual demo. I'm going to be building a robot from scratch, so you'll actually see how I'm building this step by step and follow along the way. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm going to open up the website. So as you can see, I'm not opening a browser, I'm just building this directly in the Kofax RPA Design Studio. So this robot will be executing in memory without the need of a virtual machine or VDI. So first I need to do is I need to log in. So I can immediately use usernames and passwords that are stored in the encrypted password vault of Kofax RPA, and I can immediately leverage them here as well. So, and as you can see, every time I interact with the application, you'll see the steps actually, popping up right there. So I don't need to write any code, I can just interact with the system and it's able to follow along. So I've now logged in, I've navigated to the actual orders, and I actually want to extract all of these. But I also want to make sure that I'm able to retrieve them from all pages. So today I've got 3 pages, but tomorrow it could be 99, the day after that maybe just 1. So what I need to do is I need to repeat certain steps per page. I need to repeat some certain steps. I need to be able to press the next button, and once I do that, I need to repeat that step by step along the way. So what I've now done is I've easily built the same logic that the website has into my robot. So I can actually go all the way over there and use my navigation button to navigate through that. So what would then happen if we go along? If we go to 4, it actually throws an error, but we can use that error because what that error actually means is I couldn't find the next button, and we can then use that in order to say, well, if you run into that error, that's going to be perfect for us because that means that we're done. We can actually break the loop. So we actually use that straight away. So once we've done that and we go back to the first page, we want to be able to loop through all of these entries here. Kofax RPA is of course meant for web automation as well. So we are clever enough to know and recognize that that is a table that we want to loop through. So we want to loop through every row and exclude the first one because that's just the header there. So we immediately have a way to navigate through these. Okay. What do we then need to do is let's open up the actual purchase order. So just double click on that. And what you'll see is that we actually use the built-in Excel editor to actually go through this PO, which is now offered to us as an Excel. If this was, for instance, a scan or a PDF, we might want to leverage the best of class document intelligence capabilities of Kofax. Kofax is of course the global market leader in document intelligence and cognitive capture, and we've built those capabilities in here as well. But this is of course an Excel, so we can easily interact with that. So the first thing we need to do is we want to store that as a variable. So we can store that afterwards, that Excel sheet, but we also want to extract certain data points from there. We want to extract the PO number as text. And we might also want to extract the total amount. And then, of course, in the order of, in the benefit of this demo, I'm not going to worry about the line items, but we can easily do that as well if needed. So, and the total amount. And once we've done that, we want to actually return the values. So there you go. Now we need to configure that to say I want to return the PO built from scratch demos. So I've now built an easy robot. I can immediately switch to debug and test it straight from the design studio. So you can actually see it stepping through there, and you'll start to see the actual values returning here and there. And of course, this is the first version of this robot, and robot development and robot configuration is a very iterative process. So we typically aim to automate 80% of the cases with our first version. It's always that that Pareto thing where you want to do 20% of the work and which ends up automating 80% of the cases. So we can now see that certain cases have not been automated, but still we have achieved an 80% automation rate, and the rest of the 20% can be picked up by a human. But then let's assume we are designing the next version of this robot, and we notice that we were unable to retrieve the total amount of the 7th sheet. So we can immediately go here and say, well, have a look at the 7th and show me why you weren't able to get the total amount there. And you can immediately see that it's just looking at that point of the sheet. And then we say, okay, well, how can we make this robot a bit more intelligent? Let's look for the word total and say, make that a named range. Perfect. And we then say, in that named range, you should always need to look for a cell that matches the word total. And this can of course be very, very easy to do. Just double click that, make sure that it's working. And then for the total amount, instead of saying, well, always look at, what is this, K30, we want to say, I always want to have a look at the named range we just found, named range 1, and then say I want to grab the cell right next to it. There we go. Immediately test that. Perfect. So now if we switch back to debug mode, we can immediately test it. And of course, in the next part here, we would say, well, okay, of the remaining 20%, we want to automate 80% of that. So we're aiming for a 96% success rate. But of course, in this demo, we actually have a 100% success rate. So what you've seen me is build a quick robot in a couple of minutes. Hope you like this. Tag along for the rest of the demos. Have a great day.